Yo, what's up guys? Liliana got recently buffed where she no longer gets extra crit damage, but she straight up gets 50% extra damage, which is a lot. It's a lot more. I'll showcase in a second how much more that is and how that would look like. But the big question is she usable right now? Because still the thing is she loses 50% HP. The cooldown on this skill 3 is pretty short, so it's definitely a violent unit in my case, because then she can cycle back for like just a bunch of skills when she is in the normal form, get back to the Lord of Hell state, and then keep going. However, there's one thing that's really awkward about her, and that is this skill 1, and also that this skin is a little bit too big, but looks really dope. But what is awkward about her? If the enemy attack or defense is already decreased, you start stunning. The big issue is the or part, which means if there is attack decrease on the enemy, I will go for stuns, and I can no longer land defense decreases. Plus, there is apparently no skill ups on this skill, which is a little bit strange in my opinion as well, because I would like to see skill ups to up the rates of these skills, as we would see over here to add another 20% to it. But for some reason, these skills do not have any skill ups in them, which I find a little bit strange in my opinion. But let's see if she's actually good right now. In my opinion, the best way to buff her would simply start her off in the Lord of Hell state. If you do that, she becomes really good, because then you kind of get the Savannah and Barbara and blah blah, all of this Beast Riders kind of vibes, where you can't kill her that fast and she becomes a siege defense unit at least, and maybe also somewhat usable in other places, and that looks kind of cute as well, not gonna lie. So first of all, damage output. So apparently her skill 1 is not in here for the Lord of Hell state, but it is a 4.0, so a 400 in that case. Normally, I was doing around a set of, let's say, like 200 attack, 100 crit rate, and then 50. And then the damage would be something along the lines of a 8.3 on a defense break. Of course, then we get the 50 extra from your passive thingy of being in the Lord of Hell state, which would make it a 10.7. However, with the new state, we would go back to that 50 if we go for a crit rate 4, and we would do this times 1.5, which is about 2k more. Damage improvement is definitely noticeable on just having a flat damage improvement rather than crit damage. But what if we go for a crit damage set right now? We still keep the same attack just for references. Normally, we would go from a 12 towards a 180, so that's a 14k right there, 14.5k. But if we keep back to this number right here, this times 1.5 is going to be a lot more than that 14k. This is where it's really noticeable. So the more crit damage you have, the more damage output you have, the more it's noticeable that 50% damage will actually do a lot more. I did also hear a few people say, it's like, how about you just put additional damage artifacts to it? It is a possibility. You do have AoE hit on this, but there's not really any form of multi-hit. Skill 1 here, not multi-hits, this not multi-hit, so additional damage artifacts, sure, they are also increased by the 50% effect right here. You could maybe make her into like a CC kind of stun style of unit. Okay, so we're gonna use it against the Bruiser team. That's the easiest way to actually fully test her. If it would be a speed contesting kind of nuking cleave kind of style, I don't think she would be that good, because she's just not full on rates of death breaking in the first place. If I would want to make her get stuns in, I should be going for some Maximilian kind of cleave. So let's put her on high damage with a Maximilian cleave, and let's just see how that works. Or let's actually just do a Galleon, just for the idea of it. Let's see how much damage output we have if we were to go for the Tiana Galleon kind of style. Is this something that could work in the current state for her? And in that case, we're gonna go rage set. So these would be the artifacts, and these would be the runes. So we're pretty high on the attack crit damage. We're on the rage set, rage blade all the way together. And then we just gotta fix the Tiana and the Galleon. And then Tiana just on a typical speedy Tiana set. Let's pull up some artifacts real quick. This one, whatever, should work. Preferably, you don't have to move as well. But this would be the highest damage output that I can get on a decent amount of speed. I could potentially lower the speed by a little bit, but just seeing for how much damage output this has. And this will be a pretty tanky defense, so I don't expect to fully kill it. Or we're gonna go for the change. I'm so used that changing are on the skill 4 rather than the skill 3. But let's see how much damage this is gonna do. 33k on squishy, 25k on non-squishy, and yeah, I'm kind of squishy myself as well. So okay, we do instantly get the turn in after that as well. Let's just go for this on you. And we do get, yep, this team is pretty darn tanky. That's definitely noticeable. Skill 1 should still, 24k, still does good damage. I feel like that for a nuking kind of composition she does still have a fair bit of cleanup potential. And that is often the issue with these kind of comps where if things go wrong, you don't have that much of cleanup potential. And I feel like she does have a fair bit of cleanup potential. Is it really the strongest out there for the nuke itself? Not necessarily. The nuke got 25k on an attack buff and all of that good stuff. Not really. So I think she's more of a violent unit rather than a full-on rage damage unit. That's definitely the case right there. But because of that, you would also definitely lower the damage output by a fair bit. It is good damage though, and she did stun everything over there. Her stun rate is just 50%, so she doesn't have a guaranteed stun right there. But that actually, like, if everything lands, that's feeling stronger than I expected. So let me just try out this build or change the build towards a violent set and then kind of see how that works. Because if you would fire proc on this skill 1, getting that multiple off in one turn, yeah, that would feel very, very strong. Also, silences we don't really care about at all, which is kind of nice. If we land Death Break over there, could probably... Okay, did not kill the one in the middle. That's too bad. You do focusing on this does give me full bar, which is really nice. And it doesn't really kill me, which... The protection on that is actually not that bad. Like, so if she were to start off in that hell state, she would be really strong because this cooldown on getting back into the hell state is actually really, really short. So for bruisering this, I could definitely see some potential on her. But let's change it out to a fire build and let's give a little bit more of a build what would make sense on violent. So if there's no Death Break already, it's not that much of damage. Also, the thing that I'm fighting is rather tanky, so it's not too much on damage, just rather tanky. But let's change the set. So as a violent set, would be looking something along these lines. Bit of all stats with crit damage and crit rate in there. Artifact-wise, I'll still keep the same, I guess. Well, let's see how this will do. And I think I would switch up the team this way as well for going more of a Bruiser lineup than going for full-on a cleave lineup, because this is not really a cleave kind of setup right now. Still 26k, it's not that bad per se actually. Okay, you get the hit on that right now. It will not necessarily make her any more tanky or anything. Did not get procs on there, but that's fine. Enemy is kind of on the slow side. Can we push that back? Yes. Okay, 0 procs on it thus far just yet. If we get Oblivion, Oblivion doesn't actually matter on this one. If we were to Vio on this turn right now, too bad. Otherwise, we would be really close to the Lord of Hell state right away. So for this Bruiser fight, it's more that the other two units aren't really participating in this fight at all, which isn't really helping. And, oh wait, you still had that available, and now I die. Okay, so full on rage. Well, now she did not really have the best of pairs next to her. So let's go for a little bit of better pairs next to her. Also, having a Vio set that never Vios doesn't help you neither. I still would like to go for a strip, but I'm kind of thinking, like, what is a good strip next to this? Thing is, with going a Trix, if you go Trix Amber, whole team already dead. Like, I don't have to do anything else, and then this unit is kind of useless. So, yes, Trix would be a really good one. Amber will showcase that, but just placing an Amber next to it would actually make it so much better. Well, let's actually just go the full team of those two, which, just for fun, let's see how it works. As mentioned, Amber would absolutely do way better in this team, but just for the idea of it, because she does have some debuffs and those kind of things. And, oh, wait, she was not even fast enough to outspeed that, but sure, we can go for the switch. Amber would have pretty much like full cleared the whole team right here while being crazy tanky, but that's still good damage, especially on branding. Wow, that's actually more damage than I expected. This is not that bad. Actually, not that bad. I'm also seeing the revenge over here. How good would she be if she would be revenging in the Lord of Hell state? Because then she's firing off the skill 1, which is the main output there, right there. Which also make me think, team-ups. Team-ups might actually be good on her as well. Let's try out the team with team-ups in just a second. But first of all, let's just try it one more time to see how good this is or isn't. Well, it seems pretty good. But yeah, team-ups. Maybe I'll make a move first. Well, in this case, I do know that the whole enemy team is... Oh, this is where you see like the real damage output. Yeah, that's just the moment you see it move multiple times, that's where it gets super strong. But I can find 2 team-up kind of units where I do assume that the whole team on the enemy side in this case is without will runes. You normally don't always have that luxury out there. But yeah, these hits, especially on squishy targets, tend to hurt. That's something. She is definitely usable. Would I say she's really necessarily good? I'm not sure, because this has some of my best runes right now. And even with that, she's okay on damage. She's decently annoying to kill, but I wouldn't really classify her as crazy strong or anything like that, where I would say it's like, hey, I should be using this all the time. Okay, so for a team like this, I would have to switch the runes on those two to move right after this. I do know that my whole enemy team is super slow. Normally, you can't get away with this kind of speed if you were to make her move first, because she has to move first, otherwise she's not in the Lord of Hell state. And that's also one of those things. If she were to start off in the Lord of Hell state, I could right away go for team-ups, which would make her a lot better as well. So then we would have the team looking like this with this team order. As mentioned, I do know that I outspeed the enemy against anything faster than me. This wouldn't really work. But if we were to start off with a hit like that, and then we would go for team-up, which would also make that thing team-up. Okay, apparently you are too slow, but from here, cleanup is looking pretty darn strong. I guess that there's some more resistance on this unit, so yeah, this is definitely an option where you could say it's like, yo, this is looking pretty powerful because you got multiple team-ups, multiple chances for the Lord of Hell to hit on the S1, and then it's actually like super, super strong. But big question is, how often do you outspeed like this while also being this slow? It is not that often, so I will go for a different team that I will be hitting in just a second, and then I would have to put some proper runes to it where it would be more reasonable of what kind of runes do you normally need to outspeed this kind of stuff. So, okay, you are apparently kind of tanky, but not tanky enough to survive all of that. That sucks a little bit. Can we actually kill you? Nope, we cannot kill you. That does also suck. So, yeah, once again, a little bit too tanky right here for the damage output that I had. And I guess that thing was on Nemesis, which was also not really helping out. This, I guess that, yeah, there should be some Nemesis. Actually, I should have used that on the other one. It is nice if you do get the stun early on those things. That's always a nice thing. So, in this case, if we were to do this, I would still clean up from the others. And then you can go for this. It is definitely a something right there. It looks pretty dope if it works like that, but can you actually use it against speed teams? Because the team that I just fought is not super common. Most of the teams that you see in a World Battle state, for example, are all of those speed. Let's try it out against something like this, just to see if these kind of things would work, and then we also have to change the runes for a bit. To be honest, thinking about it, Sylvia plus a Liliana would definitely be funny. A little bit too much dark, but would be funny. Okay, so for the team that we're going to use on this, going to be a Swift Chandra, Riley for protection, and then the Liliana. And let's see if that actually does work. So team would look something like this. Kind of overdid it on the Chandra, but that's a nasty looking Chandra right there. Does have a little bit too much crit rate though, but either how, let's see. Okay, it is full on the will runes, which makes things a little bit awkward. I think in that case, I'll just simply send off a skill 1. Good stun right there. Okay, you got hit. That is fine. But since I stunned it on the skill 1, that is a nice thing. This will cycle out of a few of the turns of the buffs. Wait, do I remove all buffs? Wait, why would you remove all buffs? Did not even know that was the thing. I didn't notice that on the Galleon hit earlier, but I do notice it right now. That's actually really bad. Okay, that explains why you were doing so much less damage. Okay. So that part doesn't actually work. Interesting. So then you would have to give attack buff after this. So now we're looking at potentially good damage if I don't straight up die on everything. Okay, did get rid of, so defense break and attack buff. 13k, so that's where you see the real damage coming in. So she does have damage output. Definitely does have damage output. It's kind of strange that you lose all buffs. I did not even notice that. So then also the Chandra doesn't really help at all. Because, well, it helps for the first set of protection, but also lucky stuns right there once again. But outside of that, that's weird actually. So also doing this skill right now doesn't really help at all. Best thing we can do is wait 1 turn for it. That even makes it even way more where she should start in the Lord of Hell state, because otherwise it's just straight up garbage. Because she can't really do the S2 otherwise. Yeah, okay, that's where she immediately dies. Let's give this to you, I guess. That's so weird. That is actually so weird. How's her skill 1 damage? Not too bad. 13k on a death break. That's something that you will see a lot. Yeah, so putting her next to buffers is actually kind of bad. Interesting. Did not even know that was bad, but apparently it is. How far are we off for? Yep, that's the thing. Her cooldown is super low. So getting her skills in is actually not that bad. I might give her a try on like arena defense or something, because if she RNGs and she starts throwing off these kind of things and she gets like the RNG the moment she's out of the state again and those kind of things, she might be pretty strong. She's really weird by a lot of things, but she might actually be pretty strong too. So in that case, I do want to test one more thing. What if we're just going for the team with a Maxi? Because in the end, the Galleon did not really work, so that part doesn't help us. So this team might be a something. Let's just see how it is. It is definitely one of those things. The Bruiser potential for this team becomes a lot stronger due to the Liliana, because it's just decently of a Bruiser unit. So in this case, we also do have you on Violent. Everything nearly dead already due to a Maximilian. Thank you very much. We do also now have just guaranteed stuns because, or not guaranteed stuns, but just only thing that we can activate is stuns because all of the other things are already there. We do also all lap you so we can kill you. That's nice. It's something I could see myself using. It is definitely not that bad. Plus, this is then also something that you could throw more at a speedy-ish team. Would not really throw it at a 206. I would probably go Swift on that in that case. But for the sake that, let's say that you already outspeed, you know that you outspeed, you can go for this. That's why I kind of like Violent in this build. Because sometimes you just simply miss. Why is everything like filing like crazy? That's also one of those things. Okay, sure. Well, that's also the thing. At this case, you might as well just go for Legolas on Wind, which would destroy the whole thing. But if you want to use your LDs, then that is an option. Let's try, and then we're gonna call it a video right there. But yeah, there's a lot of options that you could see is like, hey, this actually does have some potential out there for things that you can use it. Is it necessarily really great though? I don't know just yet. Would I use it in RTA? RTA, it's only a late pick. And because it's a late pick in RTA, I don't really feel like using it. Because I think she needs really good runes to actually shine. And a late pick like that for really good runes to make it shine is mostly not really what you want to do. Plus the fact that if you put, well, anything less than great runes at it, yeah, it's just going to be ass. That's just... yeah, I'm 100% confident in that. And if you were to pick it too early, then you're just gonna face the Nobara 24/7, because this thing lands way too many debuffs. Nobara is really gonna mess you up. And going simply for an Okeanos or a Zhongshanlao or any of those kind of good things is potentially way better than going for something like this. But for Siege, I might be using it here and there. And on defense, I'll give it a try. So that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know where you think I should be using her. And see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.